success is useless if it's the only thing you're living for. You know, I've been thinking about what it means to be successful, what it means to be fulfilled recently. And the more I think about it, the more I seem to realize that success in the way that we tend to measure it, as society, it's always tied to certain metrics. It's tied in relation to wealth, in relation to skills and ability, and a lot of people, tie it into things like freedom, which again links to wealth. And I think there's a big misconception between how people value themselves through, these things like money and success in career, these physical things, a house, a nice car, when in reality, success is defined by the individual. You determine what success is for yourself, and when you really think about it deeply, for most people, success, it's not about the material objects. It's about the things that they get from them. If someone is, let's say, financially stable, they have a nice car, a stable career, it's not necessarily that they love those things, but often it's that, they're after that sense of freedom, the ability to do, let's say, what they want, when they want. And so I think a lot of people don't think about this idea that you can achieve the success that you want without going through the traditional paths. For example, I was at Tesco the other day, which, for those of you that don't know, it's a supermarket which is very big in the UK. And I was there, and there's this employee that, sometimes I go and he'll be working there on shift. And he's always incredibly happy. He'll speak to you, ask you about your day. He always has the biggest smile on his face. And, I'm not really sure why he's the only employee there who always seems to be in such a good mood. And I feel like he's just an example of someone who's able to find success, even in a situation where, a job like that, it's not making huge amounts of money. It doesn't grant you huge freedoms. You still have to come in and work when they tell you to work. But he's almost created this lifestyle for him where, he's a person who seems to enjoy, socializing and enjoy being kind to others. And he's brought that into his work, and he's, able to achieve this level of success, even doing a job, being in a situation that most people dislike. I haven't worked in a supermarket or retail, but in the job I currently have and the jobs I've had in the past, I'm not really able to do what I've seen that man do and achieve success in that way. And I think, at least for me, it's a lesson that, you shouldn't, if he was focusing on or if I had that job and I was just thinking about the hours I have to work and how the pay is not great, and just being in that sort of environment, it would lead to a bit of a negative mindset. But with this man, he's able to find positivity in those things. So I think, at least for me, it's a bit of a learning lesson. And just going back to the idea of success, I also think that in the current world, maybe it's always been this way, but when we think of success, we think of an end goal. We think about buying a property, having a good family, getting promoted in our careers and these things, but we don't think about how every day can be a success. Just because you weren't promoted, let's say you, at least in my case, I made a new video. Even that in itself is a success, at least for me. And what I'm trying to say here is that you don't have to think always about the end goal when you're trying to make progress in anything. It doesn't matter what the field is. I mean, generally, as long as you're doing something, you're improving, and it's good to be consciously thinking about how you can improve as well. But you don't always need to keep that end goal in your mind. If you do, it can almost seem so far away that you'll lose motivation. I mean, tying in with that, I think, there's the well-known saying that comparison is the thief of joy. I think that's very true as well, especially with things like social media and, YouTube, which I think is a good example. You'll see a lot of videos, a lot of influencers who are making these videos about, how I went from 0 to 100,000 subscribers in 1 year. And even if you don't intend to, you'll subconsciously compare yourself to them, and it'll make yourself feel worse. But it's just all about finding that success in yourself. Especially on social media, mainly, you only see the top 99% of creators. You don't see that 1% who have either, quit, or they're trying, but they're not seeing success. So, the key to that, I think, is just not to compare yourself to others, but to try to be 1% better yourself every day. And to recognize that as a process, to, congratulate yourself that you're trying these things, that you're having these new experiences. So I think my point is with that is that we should all try to just keep that in mind. Imagine the points of this video really is that success is useless unless you think about the reasons behind this success that you want, and to recognize that it's a journey, and there's many different ways you can achieve success. Your idea of winning, your idea of success doesn't have to be tied to someone else's. So, guys, I think just whatever you're doing, I want you guys to be kind to yourself, be patient, and just keep trying what you're trying. Just keep at it, and you will get better. So, if anyone enjoyed anything from this video, I'd really appreciate if you smash that like button and subscribed, notification bell. If you didn't enjoy it, feel free not to, but still glad you stuck around to listen. Thanks for sticking around, guys.